In the fading light of a divided nation, young men stood beneath the southern sun, their uniforms worn, their hearts unshaken. These were the soldiers of the Confederacy, sons, brothers, and fathers whose faces have long been forgotten in the gray silence of history. For over a century, they have stared back at us from faded tintypes, ghostly reminders of a time when America fought itself. But now, through the power of restoration and colorization, their world returns to life. What was once frozen in shadow now breathes again, revealing not just soldiers, but human stories of courage, youth, and sorrow. This is colorized history, Lost Confederate Soldiers in living color, the past reborn before your eyes.
First Sergeant John W. Gilbert, Company D, 24th Georgia Infantry. Gilbert enlisted in Towns County, Georgia on 24 August 1861. He was killed at the Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia in May 1863. Private James Marion Garrett, Company D, 24th Georgia Infantry. Born in 1834 and a resident of Towns County, Georgia, Garrett enlisted on 24 August 1861. He died in 1886. Private Thomas Jefferson Goldman, Company D, 44th Georgia Infantry. Goldman enlisted on 4 March 1862 in Clayton County, Georgia. He was captured on 6 April 1865 at Farmville, Virginia, ending the war for him. Goldman survived the war, died in 1912, and is buried in Lincoln County, Georgia. Junior Second Lieutenant Addison M. Burnside, Estes Guards, Company D, 44th Georgia Infantry. Burnside, a resident of Clayton County, Georgia, enlisted as a first sergeant on 4 March 1862, later becoming a lieutenant. He was mortally wounded at the Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia, on 3 May 1863. He was yelling to his men, "Forward men, guide center," when he was shot. The story goes that he lived for several hours and kept repeating his last command over and over. Burnside is buried in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Private George Powell Stevens, Company E, 3rd Georgia Infantry Battalion, and Company C, 37th Georgia Infantry. Stevens enlisted on 22 February 1862 at The Rock, Georgia. His records are limited, but it was noted that he was detailed to serve in a hospital at Bean Station during November and December 1862. Another page indicates he re-enlisted to serve the remainder of the war on 29 January 1864, while his last file shows a receipt for clothing in June 1864, but again, with some of his files being almost illegible. Captain George Washington Keeling, Company H, 24th Georgia Infantry. Keeling, a resident of Franklin County, started the war as a first lieutenant. Elected captain in January 1862, he resigned his commission in August 1862 due to old age. He survived the war, moved to Texas, and died there in 1888. Private Thomas Crozer, Company C, 56th Georgia Infantry. Crozer enlisted on 10 May 1862 in Bowdoin, Carroll County, Georgia. He was captured on 16 May 1863 at the Battle of Champion Hill, Mississippi, sent north as a POW and later exchanged. He was wounded at the Battle of Jonesboro, Georgia in 1864 and stayed home recovering for the remainder of the war. Private John T. Pinkard, Company A, 40th Georgia Infantry. Pinkard enlisted in Paulding County, Georgia on 24 February 1862. On 23 April 1862, just 2 months later, he died in Knoxville, Tennessee. More soldiers died as a result of disease than those who died in combat. Private George Stephen Vineyard, Company F, 24th Georgia Infantry. Vineyard enlisted in Gwinnett County, Georgia on 24 August 1861. He lost a gun in 1864 for which he was charged $27. He was captured at Farmville, Virginia on 6 April 1865, ending the war for him. Vineyard died in 1926 and is buried in Amarillo, Texas. Private Laban Seaborn Stowe, Company G, 11th Georgia Infantry. Stowe enlisted on 4 March 1862. He was wounded on 17 November 1863 with no further record given. He survived the war, died in 1921, and is buried in Tarrant County, Texas. Sergeant Nathaniel Thomas Averitt, Company I, 48th Georgia Infantry. Averitt enlisted as a private at Richmond Factory, Georgia, on 4 March 1862 and was later promoted to sergeant. He was wounded on 2 July 1863 at the Battle of Gettysburg. Absent for some time recovering from his wound, he eventually returned to the regiment and was surrendered at Appomattox in April 1865. Private Samuel J. G. Brewer, Company I, 8th Georgia Infantry. Brewer has only 2 sets of military records, both dealing with medical treatment. He was admitted to the General Hospital in Petersburg, Virginia on 25 November 1861 and returned to duty on 14 December 1861. He was in the hospital again in Danville, Virginia in 1863. His records include no mention of the date of his enlistment, any wounds he sustained, only these 2 reports. For many CS soldiers, records simply do not exist, even though they truly indeed did serve. Private Henry T. Davenport, Company A, 12th Georgia Infantry. Davenport enlisted on June 15, 1861 in Amherst, Georgia. He was captured on 10 May 1864 during the Spotsylvania campaign. He was exchanged in March 1865. His name appears on a list of prisoners surrendered on 10 May 1865 at Albany, Georgia. Private Napoleon Bonaparte Landers, Company K, 36th Georgia Infantry. Landers enlisted on 13 May 1862 in Gwinnett County, Georgia. He was sick in a hospital when Vicksburg, Mississippi capitulated to federal forces in July 1863. The disease overtook him soon after, and he died on 26 July 1863. Private Albert Carlton Daves, Company G, 3rd Georgia Infantry. Daves, or Davis, enlisted in February 1863 and was killed at the Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia on 3 May 1863. Private Thomas Jefferson Sherman, Company E, 3rd Georgia Cavalry. Sherman enlisted on May 6, 1862 in Lumpkin, Stewart County, Georgia. He was captured near Savellville, Tennessee on 27 January 1864 and sent north as a POW, but was soon paroled. He survived the war, died in 1933, and is buried in Lumpkin, Stewart County, Georgia. Private James Henry Harrison Brown, Company K, 8th Georgia. Brown enlisted on May 15, 1861 in Oglethorpe County, Georgia. He was slightly wounded during the 7 Days Campaign near Richmond in 1862. He suffered a serious wound at the Battle of Reams Station, Virginia, on 25 August 1864, suffering a gunshot wound to both thighs. He surrendered at Appomattox and survived the war, and died on November 16, 1923. His son, Jim Brown, was one of the few last remaining real sons. James H. Brown married a much younger woman when he was an elderly man and had a son, Jim. Jim was still alive in 2009 along with the son of a federal soldier, Harold Becker, son of Charles Conrad Becker. Private Frederick Thomas Berry, Company K, 8th Georgia Infantry. Berry enlisted on May 15, 1861 at Maxey's Depot in Oglethorpe County, Georgia. He suffered from a few instances of illness, but otherwise it appears he was present for duty. He surrendered at Appomattox on 9 April 1865.
Private Asbury A. Copeland, Company K, 56th Georgia Infantry. Copeland, born in 1838, enlisted on 12 May 1862 in Heard County, Georgia. He died due to disease in Lauderdale Springs, Mississippi on 25 May 1863. Michelle Lloyd, in honor of our Southern ancestors and Confederate soldiers.
One of the saddest things I can imagine about the war, among many, is the loss of brothers who gave their lives for their cause. Imagine the pain their parents must have felt. These three fine men are the Wardlaw brothers of the Gwinnett Independent Blues, 24th Georgia Infantry. From left to right, Privates David, Samuel, and Corporal William. All three enlisted on August 4, 1861, and all three died in the war. David died on October 1, 1862, in Burkittsville, Maryland, after being mortally wounded at Crampton's Gap. Samuel died on May 6, 1864, after being severely wounded during the Battle of the Wilderness. And William died on February 19, 1863, in Lynchburg, Virginia. Their other brother, Robert, served in Company B, 41st Georgia Infantry, and died on December 31, 1862, at Stones River, Tennessee. Four brothers who gave up their lives for the Confederacy.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. This has been Colorized History, Lost Confederate Soldiers in Living Color.